Hi there, my name is Andy, and I'm going to be doing a pros of using Rise. Now, Rise, or sometimes called Rise 360, is part of the Articulate 360 software package. Normally, that includes Storyline. That's the program that most people use when they're creating e-learning courses. But if you get Storyline, you also get access to Rise. I'm going to go over the best features of Rise in this video for the purposes of creating a class for NorQuest. And in my next video, I'm going to be going over the not so good features of Rise. There are pros and cons when choosing any platform. I want to show you the pros and also the cons. But let's just get started with a brand new course. I'm going to select new course and I'm going to pick a blank course. Now, for those of you familiar with web design, there's a term in web design called WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. That means whatever appears on your screen is what the course is going to look like in the end. Now, this is probably Rise's best feature. This means that people without familiarity with web design or with markup languages or with all of the things that happen on the back end of websites, you don't have to worry about all those things, because what you type into the form is how the course is going to look in the end. So let's say we're going to call this Introduction to Rise. Also, I have to apologize for my very loud and clacky keyboard. Sorry about that. I hope it's not too disruptive. And let's call this course something like Pros of Rise. So here we are. We already got our course ready to go. We've got it named. We have a little introduction. Now, Rise uses a system called lessons. Anytime I want to add content, I'm adding it as a lesson. So let's just call this introduction, just to get started. And you can see it says Shift and Enter to add a section. Now, if I want to add a section, that creates it as basically a title block. So let's say that's introduction. That's our first section. Let's call this Welcome to Rise. Now, for me to add this lesson, I just press Enter. And then I have this button here, Add Content. And you also see when I hover over, I've got this Delete. That means I can get rid of anything. I can also add things above, which is quite nice. And I can also drag them around. These are great features. Okay, let's get rid of introduction. Maybe I don't need that. Oh, maybe we want it back. I'm going to undo. See that little feature there? Anytime I do something in Rise, I have an immediate option to undo what I just did. I have had to use this feature many times. It's very easy to accidentally press delete or to accidentally remove a piece of content inside of a lesson. So let's have a look at what a lesson looks like. Add content. And I'm going to go to lesson. This was what was most used in WebSafe. We didn't actually use quizzes for our course. For us, the assessments were an additional piece, and we saw Rise best used as essentially a content vehicle. Rise would deliver the content, and any assessments additionally would be done inside of Moodle. So let's create a lesson. And inside of the lesson, we have something called a block. Now, down here at the bottom, we have some common blocks that get used. But we can also go here to all blocks, and this will show us all the potential options. You can see we've got a lot of options. There's over 10 categories here, and each of them has a lot of subcategories. So let's say we pick text. Got nice preview windows to see what they're going to look like, and we have a lot of options. Statement, same thing, a different kind of text block. Quote, it's very similar to a text block. This includes a little picture to go with it. A list. We've got images. This is something we use quite a lot, especially this text on image, which is a great feature. A gallery. This is something we didn't use very much. We found that standalone pictures weren't something that we needed as frequently as just images. Multimedia, this one got used a lot, especially the audio, video, and embed blocks. We used attachments in a few places. Code snippets we didn't use, but this is a very handy feature. Interactive. We mostly used accordions for this section. Also, processes were very popular. One thing we did want to include was scenario pieces, but you have to use pre-built characters. That wasn't the best option for what we were doing. We have sorting activities. These are essentially knowledge checks. A flashcard grid, which is great for reviewing concepts quickly. And buttons, this is a nice way to link people to external resources. You can also embed storyline elements. If you're somebody who likes to build in storyline and wants to incorporate storyline elements, you can. Knowledge check. These are the kind of standard types of questions. Multiple choice, multiple response, fill in the blank, and matching. All of these were used very frequently in our course. Charts provide a nice way to change up some of your presentation ideas. I really like the pie chart. It's quite simple to use. Now the last feature here I want to show you, this is one we used a lot, is the continue button. We have a few different kinds of dividers, but the continue button in particular is very handy. Now, the reason is Rise works in a system of blocks, which means anytime you're moving through the content, you're seeing it one block at a time. So let's add a few blocks and get a sense of how that looks. Let's just use the standard blocks that are provided to us. This will give us quite a lot of flexibility. Let's start with a text block. Let's just call this important content. We can say this is going to change your view of the world. Wow, pretty serious content there. All right, that's pretty nice. Maybe I want to change this a bit though. Maybe instead of a paragraph with a heading, I want to have this be something more like a statement. So let's click statement. Oh, but I lost my title. Now this is something to note about Rise. Rise is using an HTML backend, which means everything gets tagged. So when you pick something like a paragraph has a particular kind of tag. So we have the certain amount of text, but we lost our title. So let's go back to paragraph with heading. You can see our heading came back. So Rise is remembering how you're tagging your particular content. And if you decide to change elements, it will only keep the ones that conform to those tags. So headings will only keep titles, and paragraphs will only kind of keep that main text. So let's go back to paragraph with heading. That's a pretty good way to start. Okay, let's now include an image element. It's a pretty good image, but I want to make it a bit wider. Let's see if we can go. We got image centered, image full width. Let's take a full width image. Gonna take a minute. Oh, perfect. We've already got it. Oh, the bike's pretty good, but I want to change this image. For me to change it, I'm going to go to Edit. Edit again, and now I'm going to go into Replace from Content Library. These are images that are already available within Rise. Let's call this something like a computer. This is a pretty good one. Somebody typing on a computer. I'll pick that. So this is drawing from the content library, which means we have rights to use this image because we own a Rise license. So then we also own access to the library. Let's say I want to crop this image a little bit though. Let's make some changes. I'm going to go to Edit again. Settings. Oh no, sorry. Content. Edit. We see it's called stock image. And I'm going to crop this image. Let's just make it a little bit more focused on the hands and the keyboard. Looks pretty good. I'm going to hit save. So here we got a bit more focus on the hands and the keyboard. Now let's say I want to add a knowledge check to this as well. Ooh, doesn't look like we have a knowledge check. Okay, I'm going to go into all blocks, knowledge check, multiple choice. Let's go to edit. Well, there's kind of two rules of thumb when you're editing content inside of Rise. One is you can edit content right on the main page. So let's say this is going to change your view of e-learning, right? I can make that change right there. Oh, I don't like that. Let's make it capital E. Make that an L, that's easy to do. But for elements like this, if I want to change things like the feedback that I'm given, I need to go into edit. So sometimes I can edit from here, right on the main page. What is the best college in Canada? I can say NorQuest. And let's say Mount Royal. I can already pick which is the right answer. Now I'm going to go to edit so we can see some of the other features. You can see I've spelled Canada wrong. Classic. So here I can change the correct answer. I can add additional choices if I want. I could have multiple choices. So let's also add something like Seneca in Toronto. And I want to add some feedback. Right now I've got it set for any response. Let's change that to correct or incorrect. So for the correct feedback, I can say that's correct. NorQuest is the best college. Or that's not correct. NorQuest is the best college. Perfect. I'm going to check my settings. So this will let me change the color if I'd like to. Maybe I want to make it gray. Let's see, can I change that here? I can't quite remember. No, I need to do that somewhere else. Okay, I'm going to close that. So here we are. What's the best college in Canada? NorQuest, Mount Royal, Seneca. I can check and press submit. NorQuest, that's correct. NorQuest is the best college. I'd also like to point out some of the nice interface features here. So let's try that again. So when I select, I'm given that nice orange. And it also highlights the submit button. That was in gray just a moment ago. So let's pick Mount Royal. Now watch the interface features when I press submit. It circles my answer. It gives me X's and also shows me the correct answer. Incorrect, that is not correct. NorQuest is the best college. Again, I want you to watch that submit button. Gray, orange. Very nice. Those little tweaks are all built straight into Rise. Again, these are the kind of best features of Rise. Well, let's say that constituted a block. Now I want to add a continue button. Let's add a continue button. I can also change the nature of that continue button. I can change it so that learners have to complete the blocks above or all blocks above before moving on. I can also change the size. But one thing I really like here is I can actually change what it says on the continue button. So I can say something like, I answered the question. Before moving on, I'm going to answer that question. Okay, that's a pretty good start. We've got the elements here that can show you what the course is generally going to look like. But I want to add one more thing. Let's add a labeled graphic. The labeled graphic is a way for a learner to interact with an image using text and also using sound if they'd like to. Let's go to Edit. And I'm going to go into my markers. But first, let's change the picture. I'll use the content library again. Let's look for something like a kitchen. I don't really love these kitchens. They're a bit bland. That one's not bad. Okay, let's pick that one. And now you see I've got my markers here. Eventually this will load. There we go. So let's put one here, maybe on the chili pepper, and one here, maybe on the cumin. Okay, now I'm going to go into my items. So my first one's on my chili pepper. Let's call it chili pepper. Wow, I'm having a lot of problems with typing today. As you can see, once typing is recording, it's always more difficult. Chili pepper, this is spicy. And let's say I want to change the marker. Let's have it look like a 1. I like to use numbers for my markers. And I'm going to record a little audio too here. I'm going to hit record audio. Oh, I can't because I'm using a different source. Now, in theory, you could record audio here and use this as a clip, maybe to say something about your chili pepper additionally, maybe to read the text that you have available. I can also add a picture. Let's see what the word spicy gives us. Maybe hot sauce, that's pretty good. I'm going to edit that. I don't like all the black space in that picture. It's a bit too unfocused. Now, I don't have my full screen action here because I'm using a smaller screen to show off functionality. So let's pretend I crop that. So now here we are again in our labeled graphic. I've got my chili pepper. I've got a picture of Tabasco, which I would have cropped if I had full powers. This is spicy. And my other one, I haven't changed it yet. So it's going to say item 2 and have my lorem ipsum. I can also move through those using these arrows, which is quite nice. Okay, let's say I'm finished. Let's say that's my first lesson. I'm ready to go. Let's see what it looks like. This is what it'll look like for the learner. I'm going to hit preview. I've got these great options up here. I can see what it looks like on a desktop, a tablet, landscape tablet, a phone, or a landscape phone. Let's pick tablet portrait just to get a different sense what it's going to look like. So you can see we've got this nice featured view right inside of what the tablet is going to appear like. Now you can see we kind of had an animation there to show the items popping in one at a time. Because everything's sort of on this first page, we don't quite get the same sense. I want to add a little bit more drama to my situation. So I'm actually going to jump back in here. Let's throw a continue button right here as well, just to make the transition a little bit more dramatic. I'm going to go back to preview, and let's preview as the desktop. So here I am, welcome to Rise. I've got this nice orange bar here too to show my progress. Important content. This is going to change your view of e-learning. And watch as I scroll down, my next block will animate. So I got my picture of my typing. I'm going to scroll down a little more, and there's my continue button. And now I'm taken to my question. What's the best college in Canada? Of course, it's NorQuest. Correct. That's correct. Now I've answered the question. Move on to my next piece. Here's my label graphic. And that's the end of my lesson. I can also have a look at that from the course preview. So we're in lesson preview right now. Let's move back to our first page here. Our pros of Rise. So this is our course in its totality. I'm going to hit preview. And this is what the course will look like when it's delivered to the user in its totality. So introduction to Rise. See, I've got my lesson here. I can hit start course. And on the left here, I've got this great navigation element. I can open and close that bar. This will let me get an overview of the entire course. Now, I recommend using open navigation. So if we had 10 lessons, users would be able to move between any of the 10 lessons. That's an easy way to make the course more accessible right off the start. And I've got these great navigation features, so you can see I'm 33% complete, and I'm also given a small bar at the top here that'll show how much I've done. So I'm going to hit continue. Again, we've got this nice view. I can change this to what it would look like on a phone. In landscape, back to desktop. This gives me a lot of options. That's basically it. You use these elements in increasing complexity to make your course. One block at a time, one lesson at a time. This is Rise in a nutshell. All right, thanks very much for watching.